You have such an interesting background and a financial background as well in global education. What is the overall economic value? If you were assessing global student enrollment growth and the impact on the higher education institution, how do you, from a financial perspective, how do you explain that kind of an impact so that we can understand it?
It is an impact that goes beyond what most people imagine. And so it's really from a financial type of contribution. I can tell you that, for instance, just the case of Western Michigan University. And we're talking about a university with about 15,000 students. So it's a mid-sized public university in a city of Kalamazoo of about 80,000 people, Kalamazoo County, about 200,000 people. The international enrollment at Western contributes with over 70 million dollars to the community.
Wow.
And it contributes to about 600 jobs in the community. And these are not Paulo's numbers. This is not my educated guess or anything like that. These are actually numbers published by NAFSA, the Association of International Educators. And the numbers they publish are actually based on data provided by the US Department of Commerce.
And I've heard that global education is responsible in the whole US, let alone the world, but the US for $38 billion of economic impact.
Exactly. Exactly. The impact is really just the example I gave of such a small community. If you consider the size of the United States, and we're talking about immediately $70 million in a city of 80,000 people, just from one university. And so it's really, the size is really impactful. It's a top 5 export for the US. At its peak, was a top 5 export for the US. So this is, in terms of the US economic activity, this is by any means a very meaningful impact. And again, it's just goes so much beyond the financial and economic side of things. So while you're contributing to the US economy, in the case of US higher education, you're also contributing to improving the quality of research and innovation in the US and in every country that has international enrollment, because research topics know no boundaries. One could argue that there's no local. To be honest, I don't even know if there was ever local in the history of civilization. We've had that search for global talent since the beginning of civilization. I always remember 2 great examples. Cicero, the Roman philosopher, went to Athens in Greece to improve his skills in rhetoric, because obviously in Athens there were great philosophers, experts considered at the time and still today, experts in rhetoric. And so we had this Roman philosopher went to Greece to improve his skills on rhetoric. That's a good example of how far back you have examples of people wanting to improve their skills through international education and an international scholarly work. And another example I give, for instance, in the case of the search for global talent, Christopher Columbus was born in Italy. He moved to Portugal at age 25 because Portugal was a naval power, was the main naval power at the time. And then ended up moving to Spain because Portugal had already too many projects, too many trips, journeys going on in maritime expansion, and goes to Spain, and the crown of Spain ends up funding his journey to the Americas. And so we have someone who is born in Italy, moves to another country to be where the global talent for his particular activity was, and then moves on to search for where the investment for that activity was. We can find so many examples going far back as many centuries or millennia we want. This is something that it's part of the human condition. Internationalization of education, of higher education, of any sort of education, cultural exchanges, they're part of the human condition. There were never borders that stopped this, and I truly hope that there will never be